I've written a letter that I hope every American can share as if they wrote it themselves. My fellow Americans, our nation stands at a pivotal crossroads where the very fabric of our republic is under attack. In the wake of the 2020 presidential election, there were those who sought to undermine the sanctity of our sacred electoral process, attempting to steal the very heart of our nation by certifying a fraudulent, forged, and entirely fake presidential winner. 75 million people plus made their voices heard on November 3rd, 2020. Some of those same people who later questioned the legitimacy of that election were maliciously charged for criminal conduct for simply questioning the results of that highly contested election. Millions suspected and still believe that fraud occurred on a massive scale, which helped accelerate the current downfall of our nation that now finds itself in today. Since then, the American people have seen the links those who helped destabilize the 2020 election will go to so they can remain in power and total control. They've witnessed President Trump bombarded with four baseless indictments, radicalized prosecutors unleashed on him to attempt to take his businesses away, raid his home, levied malicious claims of abuse at him by a woman who called that same kind of abuse sexy, while those same types of judges levied astronomical fines his direction while fully denying him his normal due process rights that are supposed to be available to every citizen of every creed who calls themselves an American. All the while, the mainstream media protects this criminal mafia by profiting from off the devilish narratives they spin and weave like spiders. The courts jail anyone who threatens their boot on the proverbial throats of all Americans. We, the people, are taxed to death. Financially, many can barely afford food and their utility bills. War has been waged against the patriots and citizens of our nation by our nation's enemies within. And while some may not fully understand why these enemies do what they do, some of us diligent guardians of our republic know very well their motivations. These people, drunk on power and greed, instead of what's good for our country and fellow humanity, have sown division across not only our land, but the entire world in ways never seen before, even endorsing illegal aliens to wreak mayhem and havoc inside our borders and on American citizens. Their lust for more power and more control is sucking the very air out of all of our lungs. They've declared war against we the people. The silent majority must no longer remain silent. But let us not forget the virtues that define us as Americans: resilience, unity, and unwavering patriotism. Our love of country is the glue that binds us together as the greatest nation on earth, built by the blood of our ancestors who sacrificed much so we could have just a little more. In many ways, their blood, their sweat, and their sacrifices helped preserve, protect, and defend our great country for many years, preparing us for these times. Now, it is up to each of us to continue to carry the torch of true justice and authentic liberty into the future for those who will come after us. Or, if we fail in this mission, the ideas of freedom and forming a more perfect union will vanish into untold decades of darkness, only to become a forgotten or one day illegal idea: freedom. The tyrants who threaten our liberty must not prevail. Throughout history, our country has faced numerous challenges, yet time and again we have emerged stronger and more united. From the battlefields of the Revolutionary War to the trenches of World War II, brave men and women have sacrificed everything to defend the ideals upon which our nation was founded. Their valor and selflessness serve as a beacon of hope, reminding us of the principles we should all hold dear. Our veterans remind us all of service to others before self. As we reflect on the sacrifices of our veterans, we must ask ourselves, will we allow their legacy to be tarnished by those who seek to sow division and discord? Will we stand idly by while the very essence of our homeland is threatened? It is up to us, the American people, during this moment to ensure that justice prevails and that the voices of every citizen are heard. We cannot let the sacrifices of our veterans have gone in vain. We must correct the injustices that have occurred and uphold the integrity of our electoral system and reinforce our sacred right to vote in free, fair, and honest elections. we all become true equals inside the ballot box if we decide to preserve the integrity of our shared and sacred right to vote. In the spirit of patriotism and love for our country, let us come together to right the wrongs of the past. Let us reaffirm our commitment to the principles of liberty and true justice for all, and let us reclaim the promise of America by restoring Donald J. Trump to the White House in 2024. Big government sells dependency on itself. Every time you exchange a right for a privilege, big government grows larger like an octopus. Small government creates independence and preserves life and liberty. With small government, our rights are retained by the rule of law that has become so perverted by political ideologies that it, too, is becoming a weapon used by our nation's enemies within. We must disinfect every courtroom and case law that is not bound by the restraints of our Constitution. If our Constitution is not our shield, if its integrity is not preserved, we risk going down a road into a hellish nightmare where only the party in power has the final say, using judges and even the Supreme Court as nothing more than political puppets to do their bidding. Millions of Americans' voices have already been silenced by this same type of abuse of power by the big tech companies who police our speech in the digital public square, where the only words we are allowed to say must be pre-approved by the big government censors, another tactic used to demoralize all of our people. Just like permanent face masks, the American people risk being permanently muzzled in more ways than one. The censorship must end. Our intelligence agencies lie to us to also protect the same big government octopus that feeds them. Many a man and many a woman have nice salaries leeching off ordinary Americans who no longer have lawful representation in our government, as corporations now own and control most politicians. It was never supposed to be this way. The founding fathers knew it too. Together we can continue to drain the swamp, demolish the deep state, and truly make America great again. The choice is ours. Will we allow our nation and all that it has stood for to falter, or will we rise to the occasion and safeguard the future for generations to come? Will we, the people, keep freedom alive for the generations to follow, as our ancestors once did for all of us? Will we stand for our flag and all that it truly represents? Will we put service before self and dignity above disdain for one another? Will we remain the United States of America, or will we forget the history of the Civil War and those lives lost? Will we honor our veterans who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that our families and our children could remain free? Or will we simply let America's enemies prevail and tear us apart with their rhetoric designed to divide? For as long as we fight amongst ourselves, we never see their hidden hand robbing from all of us our treasury and stealing the futures of all of our children and grandchildren by their backroom deals and political kickbacks. To be born an American is the only true privilege. To protect that privilege and prolong the ideas of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness should become a revival in America, as it is the sole, lone, singular thread that truly binds us all together as Americans: freedom. Anything less than this, we remain divided and our enemies prevail. Anything less than this, and we do all those who came before us and built our nation a disservice. Anything less than freedom for all, including those we disagree with but who still love their country, however misguided some may be, will cost all of us the legacy of our birthright as Americans to be born free and remain independent. Will you stand? I hope you stand.